meeting to order. And we do have a quorum, there are 4 of us. So, now this only has January 7th minutes. But we also have the minutes from the November 5th meeting. Has everyone had a chance to read them? And does anybody have any corrections, additions, changes?
Nothing that I noticed.
I honestly didn't see anything myself, but it's up to you guys.
Move to accept.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Fine.
And the meeting minutes for the January 7th meeting. Have you had a chance to look at them? Any corrections, additions, changes?
Over a short meeting.
Yes, it was.
Well, that's a very good meeting.
Move to approve. Second?
You can't go.
All in favor?
Joe, you can't second.
I can't second.
You can't. You weren't there.
I will second.
That's right, I wasn't.
Paul did. All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, so those are passed. Town administrator.
Sure. I don't know if you've all had a chance to review the reports that Marshall sent out to everybody. In terms of 2020 appropriation expenditures, you look on the last column, it gives you a percent of expenditure from budgetary to actual. At this time of the year, you expect to see trending around 50%. We're halfway through the fiscal year. The items that you see that are beyond the 50%, it's because they're paid once in the year, the project's complete. We review these every month, so if there's anything that kind of goes askew, we catch it. Like, for example, I just looked at fire insurance premiums, they were over 72% paid, but that premium bill has already been paid in full. So, you know, there's nothing that we're seeing here that's alarming, at this point in time. It all change quickly, but right now, you know, snow and ice, everything's looking, you know,
We're gonna keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah,
The snow and ice.
exactly, exactly, but
Very seldom on a
everything's.
snow day.
I don't get snow days.
Yes.
And at this point, so what we're looking at in terms of July 1 through June 30th, those are the trends that we use when we're working on 2021 operating budget, obviously. We've had some problems with ClearGov. We tried to implement and go live. It's been
What is that?
it's been difficult. It's I think next year, once we have the experience in there and it'll pre-populate and send out to the manager, it should be easier, but this year we've had a lot of challenges. They haven't been able to upload the documents. It's every time someone adds new information, it creates a whole new budget. So we've got, 10 budgets lined up, so they're working with us. Eileen's been doing a great job working with them to try and get things corrected as soon as they come up, but it's not been the great launch we had hoped for,
Well,
so.
it's like any new website that you're trying to develop. It just,
Yeah, we're running it, two separate budgets, so we're running one on ClearGov as well as, our
But this
regular.
isn't the first day at the rodeo, right?
No,
It's
and
not?
in terms of Newbury's operating budget, it's a relatively simple budget presentation, so I'm a little bit surprised, but I did notice that they're picking up a ton of towns, so I don't know
Oh, maybe
if
they're
maybe
overwhelmed.
everyone's coming in at the same time.
Alright.
I'm not sure.
let me move out of the way.
No,
So,
No.
so we're
This is
on it,
good.
but, it's slower than we had hoped. And in terms of revenues, just looking at trends, some of our, fines and forfeits, penalties and interest, those types of things are starting to come down a little bit. Again, not alarming, but we're just aware of it, we're keeping an eye on it, and it stands to reason, people are understanding now that, okay, if we don't pay, we're gonna have to pay interest. So now they're paying on time, things, like that, so we would expect that to happen after a couple of years, but, we are watching it carefully as we, prepare the revenues for 2021.
I have to go, can anybody access clear.gov?
What's gonna happen is once it's all the budgets are in and submitted, then we'll go through, we proof it all, and we'll post it, and it'll go live. So it'll be on the website, so anyone can go
Oh,
in
it'll
and
be
look
on,
at it.
it'll be on the
It'll
town
link to the
website?
website.
Yep.
Oh, all
Yep.
right, okay, cause I was looking at it, I was like, kinda curious, wanting to know, what is that, and can I look at it?
Yep. Yep, you'll be able to go in and see it all.
Okay, good, eventually.
And it will have, the historical data as well, so it'll show the prior year, current year, budget proposals.
The snow removal number looks good so
Looks
far.
great.
Touch wood.
Thanks, Joe.
Now you know you just.
Good so far.
Yeah, I mean, if the weather stays the way it is, we'll
Keep
probably
things-
have quite a bit
It'll
of
be
snow.
nice.
Maybe the stress is probably the salt, isn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, we'll have a full salt shed for sure.
Will we be buying, do they have enough or will we be buying more?
We usually fill it at the end of the season if there's budgetary, allows for it, but, right now we're fine.
So we can still dump it up in that season.
Turn it over to Shaman Jesperson.
Thank you for starting. So, the
I'm
news,
stressed.
he is fine.
Okay.
The doctor was really pleased with the results. This
Oh,
was
good.
Damon who had a ruptured disc that was pressing on a nerve, so he was in a lot of pain. Went into, because of the pain, they moved him along really quickly. And so he just woke up in the wheelchair now, so I just got back from there.
But he's home?
No,
Oh, okay,
No.
good.
not yet.
Good.
But he's still a little loopy.
If,
It's all right, it's all right. So-
if anybody's ever had any kind of surgery like that, it's better to stay in the hospital overnight.
Anyway, thank you for the report. And do those later. Okay, committee reports.
DCCC met last week for a preliminary look at the budget. It looks so far like it will not be the problematic thing from the past couple of years. It looks better.
Mhm.
But we were also warned that it was very, 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 very early days. So it's about all there's to report from there.
Okay.
And they were, DCCC also proposed some, changes to the regional agreement
Oh, yes,
to.
yes. We had talked about that prior to. There was, thank you for reminding me. There was a question as to how the language was worded in terms of how Triton can borrow money. There was a concern that there are two pieces in state law. One that would have allowed that does allow Triton to make the borrow, and then the towns individually have 60 days to call a town meeting to reject it. If they do not do that, then it is tacitly approved, which
Okay.
is not the way they usually do it. There's a second piece of that law that goes, we usually do it where we go and appropriate it correctly through town meeting. We had to go back to the state originally for wording, and then the people from Raleigh noted that the way the state language came back, the way it was written, if it went to a town meeting and passed there with less than 2/3, which is obviously it needs to do that, but a majority, there's some reason to believe that that less than 2/3, which would reject the borrowing for the town, would have been enough to pass it, and therefore it would have been tacitly approved under that first law. So, is that making sense?
I'm following you still.
As
Whether
long
I
as it
follow
was
you,
less than
you're
2/3%.
making sense. Whether the law makes sense. is
No, what we found is that the two laws are contradicted by one of the pieces that's in the book with the Department of Ed. So the original goal had been to have the Triton agreement brought to the towns for the spring town meeting. That is no longer likely. We went back to them and said we need more clarification, and the trip that it's going to take for legal will likely push the whole process back too far for the spring town meeting. So, but we want to make sure that we've got it right in terms of making sure that. Is it likely that it would ever go through that way? No. Obviously, we would if Triton was borrowing the money, they wouldn't be looking to sneak one past the towns
Right.
or in any way do that, but obviously you don't want to have a loophole that you could accidentally fall into, so better to push it competitively.
And that's one of the things that's been great about the regional agreement review is they're looking at, what the agreement says versus how we actually do things, and we're finding differences. So we'll see changes eventually at the town meetings. They're doing the same thing with the, we found a few other issues relative to bylaws, you know, how we're doing all those bylaw
Yes.
changes, things that say, the finance committee will prepare the annual budget, and then you have legislation that says the town administrator will prepare the annual budget, and then you have a law that says the selectmen prepare the annual budget, so we're trying to reconcile all those things, read through them, where there are inconsistencies, address them bit by bit at the town meetings, and make them consistent with what we actually do. Those are the things that always get put on the
It's
back
so
burner.
convoluted, you know, what
But
this is.
That's as I remember, that's a 3-year project, or a 3
Yeah,
phase project.
3 phase, yeah. So this town meeting, you'll see another batch of changes coming forward.
And that's the only substantive piece, so, you know, a lot of it was for us was changing things like town administrator, I forget what they call it in the other 2 towns, but it's
Yeah.
different titles, so making sure that all of that is reflected.
Okay, nothing from CPC or master plan.
The only other thing I wanted to just chat briefly with you about the calendar to kind of
Yes.
take a look. So for February, the deadline for special articles is the 10th. So they should all be turned into the selectman's office by the 10th. And then the selectmen's meeting on the 25th, we'd go through and do a preliminary review. You're generally scheduled to meet on the 4th. At the 4th, we wouldn't have any of the information, so I didn't know if you wanted to consider
A joint meeting?
a joint meeting on the 25th, if that would work for
Okay.
you, or,
What I've done is I put in an agenda and meeting notice for the 25th.
Okay.
We just have to see if it fits in anybody's calendar or it doesn't fit. If we can get a quorum, we can do it.
I have
No,
a
I'm
conflict.
not gonna be there.
Yeah, that's fine.
I also have a conflict.
You have a conflict. I'm here. Joe, what about you?
I am here.
Okay,
or we could also
So there's
meet
3 of us.
on the 11th or the 18th. And we could go through the special articles, you know, separate from the selectmen if that would work better. However, you're.
how does the 18th look for you guys?
I'm here until the 24th. I'm here the 18th.
February?
18th of February or March?
February.
Okay, that's the conservation meeting, just so you know.
So you won't be here.
Okay, I'm
As far as I know, I'm around.
Yeah, I'm here the 18th
Not planning
as
on
well.
going anywhere.
So we can shift.
Just
Yeah,
so you know,
18th looks good.
potential, it's just there won't be much information on the 4th. You're a
So-
little
Really?
bit
I'm
lost.
shocked.
What I'll do then is I'll cancel one and give you notice for the other one.
And then for March, you would normally meet on the 3rd.
Yep.
Which is fine, we should be getting the Triton budget information. Early March is generally when we get a much tighter budget picture than we have right now. So the Board of Selectmen would meet on the 10th and the 24th. And they also will schedule another meeting on the 31st, so they would take their final budget votes around the 31st of March. I didn't know if you wanted to meet jointly with them.
Yep.
So you'd have 2 meetings in March,
Or the 31st?
if you want to.
I'm kidding.
Just, I don't know, it just seems when you guys meet jointly, it's pretty successful, and I know they put a lot of weight on the finance committee's rationales for things, so.
So we're talking about a meeting on the 31st.
31st, right?
I won't be here for the 3rd, I'll be here for the 31st.
Okay,
March 31st, because right now I am here both days,
okay, good.
3rd and the 31st.
I'm here both days.
And then,
3rd and 31st, I don't see them.
I should be here.
Okay.
so assuming, again,
So-
everything goes timely, we take our final votes on the 31st, then we would prepare the budget the first week in April. You would have, your normally scheduled meeting would be on the 7th, if
Yep.
there's any changes or issues, and warrant posting would be on the 13th,
When is the meeting?
28th.
Just curious,
Yeah.
I haven't looked that far ahead
Yeah.
yet.
All the meetings will be 7?
Yep.
Yep.
And then the election's the 12th, maybe 12th.
Oh,
May 12th.
Yes.
when's the special town meeting? Oh, when's the?
The same night, we do the special town meeting first and then the annual town meeting on the same night.
I'm sorry, you said that was the
What,
28th.
which is
so-
the 20?
28th
Oh, April.
of April.
And then if necessary, we'd have one in October, we usually do it October.
I was thinking special town meeting. It's never the town meeting, it's always special town meeting.
I know.
Special town meeting or annual town meeting? Or
Yeah,
both?
you know,
Go both.
it's just,
Okay. Thank you. Any, let's see, we did have, a letter from Steve Manchin.
You see
To
which-
us?
Yeah.
Yep.
You forwarded that to us.
And that was on the bathrooms. I don't think we had any action on that item, we just copied on it. Went to
Yeah, I
the
think we-
selectmen.
I went to the selectmen, because the selectmen will be discussing whether or not they want to bring that proposal forward again.
Okay, 'cause- but we did get a copy of it.
I think as I recall, he was reiterating his,
Yes.
the points that he had made at the town meetings.
Yes, that's exactly right. I don't think we have any action on it, but I just wanted to get it out to everybody. All right. I don't think there are any other citizens' concerns. Do we have any other business?
I just had a question about the clear up, but Tracy, kind of addressed the question anyways.
The what?
I just had a question about ClearGov.
Okay.
I kind of assumed that the finance department, was in charge of the whole thing, but I guess not.
The finance department is,
Oh,
they're
Not
taking the
us.
lead.
oh.
Oh, finance
That's what I
committee,
meant,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, the department
I
instead of the
said-
committee. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just wondered, so.
Okay. No problem.
Seems that there's, the hiccups, because Tracy was saying they had a few hiccups the last couple selectmen's meetings. During her, talk about it, her report, she said that they were having trouble with it. I was just wondering if, we got troubles taken care of yet, that's all.
When we started with it, we were slow to get it going. But now what's happening is that the way it works is the department managers, instead of us passing paper back and forth, they're actually going into the software and doing the data entry, and they weren't able to get in at first, so there's another kind of workaround where they can attach
okay.
spreadsheets and upload it. So they were doing that and they were getting attached, but I can't view them. And when I was sending information back,
Okay.
it was attached and they couldn't view them. So we're working with Anna to address those issues, but it's taken longer than we had hoped.
Because you can go on ClearGov's website.
Yep.
And see Newbury's, thing, and.
Yep.
Georgetown has it too.
Yeah, they
So
do.
why not? Theirs is quite extensive. They got a whole checkbook. You can see where they spend every penny, it's right on there.
wow.
It's pretty impressive. I was just wondering,
We
if
don't
that
have,
was gonna get up to speed with Georgetown's program.
we didn't buy the checkbook. I mean, the budgeting module cost us $25,000. So we didn't buy the whole checkbook module. I mean, we certainly can, if people want us to move forward with that investment, but we thought we'd get the budget module up first, cause that seemed to be what most of the residents were interested in, looking at the budgetary comparative data. But
So Georgetown has the checkbook.
Georgetown has everything, they made a very significant investment.
And is
They
that-
got a grant for a lot of it too.
I don't know that.
Yeah, there was a big write-up in the paper about it, back in June, I think.
Okay.
Good for them. Thanks, Jeff.
All right.
Motion?
Yes. Now, do we have any communications? We set up the next meetings. Any other communications? No? Okay. Go ahead.
I thought you were looking for one. Make a motion to adjourn. I wasn't trying to get out. I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, thank you all.